91.3 WVKR Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie, New York. We just heard a track from Bruce Molsky's newest CD, Everywhere You Go. We heard the track called Dear Jill. You are tuned into LocalMotion here on 91.3 WVKR Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie. Please consider subscribing to this YouTube channel, as well as giving a like on the LocalMotion Facebook page. Thrilled to welcome on the phone right now. Bruce, are you there?
I am here.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you. I'd like to do a brief intro to the listeners, if I may. I'll start off by saying Grammy-nominated fiddler, banjo player, guitarist, recording artist, and educator singer Bruce Molsky is one of the most revered ambassadors for America's old-time mountain music. Bruce has just released a new guitar album titled Everywhere You Go, which we'll spin a few tracks from. And just a warm welcome back to LocalMotion, Bruce Molsky. It's always an honor talking with you. Thank you for your time today.
Oh, thanks, Rita. It's always good to be here, or, be virtually here as we are right now.
I know. Excuse me, I have a tickle in my throat. Once things are calming down, but a little bit longer, I think, and then I'll have in-studio people back.
Yeah. But it's great that you're kind of maintaining the momentum and the music, and I appreciate you inviting me on. This is great.
Yeah, of course. And you were so kind to send me this wonderful CD, which I really want to go in depth about because I've been really listening to it. I've been reading what you've been writing about the songs, and just the packaging, as I mentioned off air, is just extraordinary, that what you've released here. So we'll go into that momentarily. I'm going to play a few tracks from that and all of that. But I also always like to go back in time a little bit. You're a New Yorker. You're from the Bronx.
I am. You said that just right. I grew up in the Bronx. It's been a long time ago, but that's still where I feel like I'm from.
That's where you're from. And you first got into the blues. Talk to me about your musical upbringing, and talk to me about all of that.
It depends who you talk to. It could be considered an upbringing. In the case of my parents, who were not planning on me becoming a musician, it was more of a downbringing. But I fell into the. I grew up listening to pop music radio in the 60s. I'm showing my age here, but I am what I am, and here heard all these things that were related to this discovery that I made, which was the folk music revival, which actually started in the early 50s.
Right.
But where all this old music started to inform music, people who were becoming famous at that time, like Bob Dylan, the Kingston Trio, and groups you heard on the radio, like even just all the folk-based performers. Mm-hmm. And of course, I've always been a radio devotee. I still am.
Yep, me too.
And I think radio is, in some ways, radio is better than video because you get to create your own visuals for things, and I always did. Listening to music, still paints a picture of my own choosing. Mm-hmm. And I think that's how I kind of fell in love with mountain music, was when I heard people like Doc Watson and some of the earlier bluegrass bands, and then the old performers who were captured on really primitive recording equipment. It just kind of evoked something, and real or imagined.
Right. Yeah.
And so I did what all young boys do when they get a guitar in their hand, which is what I locked myself in my bedroom for about 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Because there was no internet then, and
no,
right.
No, and just I imitated all my heroes. When you're first starting to learn that what's that expression? Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
Yeah.
I wanted to be Jimi Hendrix. And
Did you try?
I wanted to be Smokey Robinson, and I wanted to be all those. I even wanted to be Ronnie Spector. I didn't care.
Right.
But I just the music really always spoke to me. And when you're a youngin', if you're as gullible as I was, you listen to those lyrics and you really believe them.
Oh yeah.
This the story that goes with the music and the music that supports the story is just so powerful.
Now, did you first start?
I'm still that way.
Did you do the acoustic guitar or electric guitar when you were that teenager?
I started with acoustic guitar.
Mm-hmm.
I had about 10 months of guitar lessons with the guy around the corner from my house in the Bronx, and he eventually got rid of me for whatever reason. And yeah, I my first love on the guitar was really fingerstyle, and it's still my main thing, which is, of course, what this CD "Everywhere You Go" features.
Yes.
I think that back then I was just learning the ropes. Now I realize that fingerstyle guitar is a really unique, special thing in the sense that you can use it to create all the elements of a piece of music on one instrument.
Mm-hmm.
You can move a melody on the top strings while moving a bass line on the low strings and filling in with chords, and listening to all these different voices just collide with each other at any one point in time. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not, and that's the journey. You have to figure it out.
It's quite a work of art. It really is. And it's very intricate. It looks so simplistic, but it's really very intricate. At least it looks like it is.
Sometimes it feels like it is too when you're playing it.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm really good at creating things that are just at the very edge or maybe beyond my ability to play them. And then I spend years trying to play these things that I kind of envision.
That you've now mastered. Bruce, you are a world-class musician. You most definitely are. You've reached that level quite some time ago. Bruce, so you got into the fiddle not until college, is that correct?
That's right. Yeah.
And you went to where my daughter is, of course, in Ithaca. You went to Cornell.
I went to Cornell for a couple of years. I went to college a few different times at a few different places, but at that time, the scene at I guess maybe the reason that I didn't finish at Cornell was because I got sucked into the folk music scene up there, which was really vibrant and active and full of great people, some of whom I still know. And we're talking about 1972 to 74.
Wow.
But there some of the people that used to. I got a job in washing dishes in the bar right outside of the Cornell gates at Johnny's Big Red Grill. And I got that job because that was the place where all the musicians gather at night to jam, and I wanted to, be around that. And you might have run across people who are still out there playing, like Howie Burson and John Miller, who has lived in Seattle for years, a fantastic guitar player. A bunch of others who used to come and just hang out around a table with a beer and just play tunes for each other all night, and it's really kind of what got me going.
Yeah, wow. And when did the banjo come into your world?
The banjo and the fiddle came in right around the same time. In fact, I played the banjo for maybe 6 months before I realized that you can't capture the entire melody of a fiddle tune on old-time clawhammer drop-thumb banjo. And so I picked up the fiddle kind of as an adjunct, and they've both been with me all this time. I mean, I still play them both actively.
Right. What do you get up in the morning and say, today is a violin day or a fiddle day, and I'm doing this, or you just?
when I get up in the morning, I think today is a coffee day, but because I'm a musician. But people ask me what's your favorite instrument or what's your main instrument, and it goes back and forth. Here through the pandemic, I've really thrown myself at the guitar, and that's been my project and my kind of refuge from all the horribleness that's been happening around us. The nice thing about being a multi-instrumentalist is if you get tired of one instrument, you can pick up the next one.
That's a really nice thing. That must be really nice to be able to do that and not just be, okay, this is what I've got and this is what I know. So, that's a very, very nice thing to be able to do. I know you to be a fiddler, and I don't know that I'm like most people, but that when I think of you, when I know of you, that's what I think of. But you're a lot more than that, too. So,
that's I guess if I've earned the reputation, it's through the fiddle, because that's the instrument that I perform with the most.
Right.
Although in my solo shows, I do a little bit of everything.
How many fiddles you got there, Bruce?
How many do I own?
Yes.
I'm not a. I was thinking about this recently. Since I play 3 different instruments, I'm not a collector. I'm not. I'm not kind of I'm becoming a guitar nerd, but I never really intended to. But I am when you do something for a long time, you become an accumulator, and that's what I am.
Mm-hmm.
So I have 2 really fine violins, and I have another that's almost as fine. I have one which was my very first instrument, which I bought. I bought in 1975 when I was working on in a tobacco shop on East 42nd Street and Madison Avenue.
Wow.
And I could tell you that I paid for a case and a violin and a bow about probably 5% of what you have to pay for a good instrument right now. But that was my baby, and it still hangs on the wall.
Wow.
In my room. I pick it up every once in a while. And my one of my prized possessions is a Hardanger fiddle, which was made in Norway about 6 years ago. For any of your listeners that aren't familiar with the Hardanger or the Hardingfele, it's the Norwegian national instrument, and it's a really beautiful resonant instrument that has primary melody strings, but also strings underneath that just they vibrate sympathetically.
Interesting.
And so you have it's a beautiful tradition, old tradition, and it creates this beautiful dome of sound over the top of your head, which is kind of indescribable.
Does it look like a standard violin?
Mine is a 5-string version, so it's a little bit quirky. But the traditional ones are a little smaller than a standard violin, and they're very heavily ornamented with like stencil type things. And the real traditional ones, instead of having a scroll at the top at the end of the neck, you have a dragon's head.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
They're beautiful. They can be really beautiful.
So you've got a nice handful of really nice instruments, violins. Yeah, it's
I'm lucky.
yeah. They're really an extraordinary instrument. They look like, how hard can it be to play? But wow, I've learned over the years that it's a really difficult instrument to master. You, of course, also are on the member of the faculty. You're a faculty member at the Berklee College of Music, doing the American Roots program in Boston. How long have you been a member of the faculty there?
Well, I came on for a 1-semester appointment 10 years ago, and I've been there ever since. So I've been there about 10 years.
Wow!
And I've been part of the American Roots program. Was brand new at that time, and it really just kind of took hold. It was kind of conceived and is still run by Matt Glazer, who's a great fiddler and violinist and music scholar himself, and who I knew way back in New York when I was growing up and used to go to the South Street Seaport Fiddlers Conventions. But Matt has really created a great thing, and he's filled a hole, I think, in music teaching where music of the early 20th century really belongs. And so it's not just fiddling and bluegrass and old time music. It's blues, it's early jazz, it's even early R&B, all kinds of musics that really inform each other. You listen to any kind of pop music these days, even hip hop and rap, which is modeled after some of the sacred singing that the gospel quartets did around the turn of the 20th century. It ain't that different. It just has progressed.
Right. Are there many colleges that offer a roots music program?
Not like we do. I think we really have something unique and special. One nice thing about Berklee just as a whole, and it's a big school for a music conservatory, is that students are encouraged not only to specialize in their main interest, but also to cross over into other styles.
Which is wonderful.
So it's fantastic. And for instance, I'm in the Roots program, but we're very closely associated with the Strings department, which is much bigger, and we have faculty in all different styles of music. We have Beth Bahia-Cohn, who is a total scholar, an amazing Eastern European practitioner. We have Eugene Friesen, who who is one of the preeminent cellists in modern music. We have Simon Shaheen, who is maybe the most respected Arabic musician on oud and violin, and it just the list goes on and on.
Right.
I love the community. It's really welcoming. It's very encouraging for the students, and they get stylistically kicked around like a football for 4 years. They're there, and they really come out with nice wide open ears and good skills.
Yeah, and that's the beauty, right? For you as teachers to see the progress. I mean, they're good to get into Berkeley, right? You have to audition. You have to, be of a certain caliber to get into the school, of course. But even as good as they are when they start, to see them 4 years later is pretty special. See that senior recital and be like, wow, look how far they've come. So.
I mean, just as an example, I can think of one student who came to Berkeley as a folk musician, but she was quite gifted. Mm-hmm. And somewhere along the line, she decided she didn't read music because we're not strict that way.
Wow!
But she decided she wanted to learn to play Bach, and so she learned to read music so that she could learn to play Bach. Mm-hmm. And now she plays Bach.
Wow. I love that. Yeah, because the conservatory, you guys interact, and what a nice thing to be able to interact between different genres. If you want to learn jazz, do that, Mm-hmm. So it's nice to have all those programs available at Berkeley, because of course now they've merged, right, with the conservatory.
With Boston Conservatory,
yes.
BOCO.
Yeah,
we're kind of one unit now. And we also have some associations, Harvard across the river in Cambridge has a very fine conservatory, and we've got some crossover programs with them. We're all about collaboration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's wonderful. Well, it's great to move this forward, and this Roots program, because like I said, I don't know of many, but I'm not into that world so much. But it's nice to know that such a fine school offers such an intensive program, and it's really, really wonderful. So, Bruce, you during this pandemic must have gotten incredibly nostalgic with this new CD, which I told you off air, I've really been enjoying listening to it and going back to it. And just by starting out with something so, what's the word? The packaging of this CD is just extraordinary. It is so well done. There's 11 tracks on here. When was this album released, Everywhere You Go?
End of February. I think the date was February the 24th.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Was the official launch, which was when it became available on all of the streaming platforms. Mm-hmm. Which is great. It's great to get it out there. I appreciate what you're saying about the package, because I'm really proud of it. And you got to have the physical package in your hand to really see the totality of this project.
100%.
It was designed by a dear friend of mine who I've known almost as long as I've played music, certainly since I was a teenager. And if the packaging resonates with the music and the notes and everything, it's because she knows me and my music as well as anybody, and she really made the visuals really reflect what it was about. And I looked for a piece of artwork that made sense, and the time period was right. For those of your listeners who check it out, it's we based the whole design around a painting from the early 1900s by Juan Gris, mm-hmm. and it's a Cubist painting, and it's of a guitar, but it's of so many different angles and variations of the guitar, all in kind of one two-dimensional, beautiful thing.
Almost looks like a Picasso.
Well, it's the same time period, I believe. I'm no expert on this stuff, but it was all of the those people were. That was one particular style, which mm-hmm. I'm sure there's lots of people who can talk way more intelligently about art, early 20th century art than me. But this thing just jumped out at me, and Megan Merker is the name of the woman who did the artwork for the package, and we incorporated certain things that are important to me, which I've been a fountain pen and a cursive writing fanatic for years.
Love it.
and we have, we use some of my writing as a backdrop to some of the notes, and yeah, a lot of photos.
A lot of photos, and just beautifully done. The what was it? The instruments that you have on here. Talk about those.
Well, for the recording, I used 3 different guitars. The main one is a guitar I've owned for many, many years. Any guitar enthusiasts out there will recognize a pre-World War II Martin Triple O guitar. It's a 1940 Martin.
Wow.
I've had it for 35 years, and it's kind of my main guitar. But I also, I wanted to do a little bit of bottleneck playing, which I do from time to time. I've never been able to really spend as much time as I wanted to with it because I never owned a guitar that was kind of worthy. So I borrowed a 1934 National Steel body guitar, what they call a resophonic guitar, or it's related to a dobro.
Mm-hmm.
And I borrowed that, and I recorded the Dear Jill, which you just played when I came on air with you, and another piece on there called Boogie Woogie Dance with that guitar. And by the time I finished recording the project, I love the idea of having one of those guitars so much that I found an old one and bought it for myself.
Oh, good for you!
And that's actually the one that's in the photos in the jacket.
Uh-huh.
I don't have the photos of the actual one that I played, but it's really cool. It's kind of it's made in 1938. It's painted like mustard yellow. It's the original paint job.
Wow!
And it's pretty cool.
It is.
And then and then there's one track on the CD that was recorded 10 years ago. Everything else is new.
Which one?
It's Fias Conabard, which is the one that's sung in Scottish Gaelic by wonderful singer Marianne Kennedy, who I was a colleague and a friend.
Oh.
And she and her husband own a recording studio in the Highlands in Scotland, and we just recorded a couple of things for fun way back then. And this one particular piece, I really loved it. I've just been waiting for the right place to put it.
And here it is, and it found it everywhere you go. Yeah. Bruce Molsky, everywhere you go. It is lovely. And also, I want to get your website out, brucemolsky.com. Bruce, this was, you recorded locally, the Hudson Valley, Spillway Sound, right here in the lovely Catskills in the Hudson Valley of New York. And yeah, it's always nice to see that. And you yourself produced this album. And want to just also Tiki Parlor Recordings released on, there's 11 tracks on here. And I love the inside cover where you start saying, this morning I listened to the final master recording of the CD. And after taking a little rest, after recording, how much of a rest did you take before listening to it?
Well, it's... When you're, I've done a lot of production and I really love it. You have to be obsessively listening to it at the time that you're creating the music and putting it together and kind of developing your vision. But you really got to step back and go, listen to something else for a while because you can get too deep into it. And it's I think part of the job is learning to listen objectively. Because I can probably name you half of them, 3/4 of the mistakes that I made. I remember all of them, as we were producing this thing. And you can become obsessed with the wrong things. And of course, you take a rest, you come back and listen. You listen in your car, you listen in your house, you listen on cruddy headphones or good speakers or whatever you have available, and it sounds different. I think the thing about music is that a CD may be a static item, but music really is not just the sounds coming out of the instrument. Music is where you are when you hear it, what mood you're in, what room you're in, and so the music becomes a different thing everywhere you listen to it. It is for me, and so I try to put myself in as many different positions when I listen to my own work, and try to put myself in the place of the potential listener and try to hear what I think they might hear. Same way, when you have just a casual conversation with someone, if you want them to get the point, you try to put yourself in their chair and not your own.
Right.
And I don't know. I never considered myself to really be a performer, but in the sense of wanting people to kind of get what it is I'm trying to say,
through music,
I do try to do that through music.
Through music, yeah. And I also see what you wrote here. I'll quote you by saying, the arrangements here each have a story. Recently, I heard another artist talk about wanting to write my younger self a letter, and that made so much sense to me. So here's my letter to my younger self, and of course to you, Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's true. Now the songs that you have on here, let's go into some of them. I mean, there's 11.
Okay.
Start with, how do you pronounce the first? It's
Yasatera.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I would not have gotten.
Yasatera is that's the Malagasy language of Madagascar.
Okay.
And that's a piece that was written in the 1930s, and Madagascar is a cultural collision of a whole lot of different cultures, and their music reflects it. And it's just a really beautiful, unique kind of thing. We haven't got a whole lot of representation of it here in the States. But I had a really very dear friend named Paul Hostetter, who was a guitar luthier and who turned me on to a lot of music from lots of different places I never would have imagined. And he was really into Malagasy music, and in fact, he produced some CDs for Shanachie Records years ago of Malagasy artists. And this was a piece of music that he and I really both liked a lot, and tried to. It's in a very odd guitar tuning, and we kind of talked about it for a long time, and we never did. Paul passed away sadly about 3 years ago, and we never solved the problem while he was still around, but I solved it after.
Oh.
And I figured it out, and so I think of him whenever I play that piece.
Oh.
Every piece on this CD represents some experience,
that you've had. And Bye Bye Baby Blues cassettes were the medium.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's Daryl Anger has been a friend and a colleague and a musical inspiration to me for well over 20 years, and he was kind enough to record on that and a couple of other pieces on the CD, and so that's from Bye Bye Baby Blues is kind of my take on a 1920s recording of a guy named Little Hat Jones, who was a street musician in San Antonio, Texas, and I played it for Daryl one day, and he said, "I want to play that." So that's how that happened.
And there it was. And the next track, number 3, "Come Home." I don't know how it's pronounced in I'm assuming it's Norwegian.
It's Swedish.
Swedish.
It's "Come Hem."
Come Hem. Okay, just as it sounds.
That's spoken with a Bronx accent, but yeah. That was written by a very great Swedish fiddler named Kjell Erik Eriksson, who heads up a group called Hovendroven, which is a great kind of folk rock based band. But he's a very much of a traditional, originally fiddler. And I met him. I've toured in Scandinavia a lot and got to know him and fell in love with the group. And I just love this melody. So when they perform it, it's on their first CD. It's bass and drums and electric guitar and baritone saxophone and fiddle. And I just took all those elements and just tried to make a fingerstyle guitar piece out of it. Oh. So of course it's my own take on something, but it's a pretty melody, a really pretty melody.
Yeah. And Bruce 3/4, Kyra Ba?
Kyra Ba.
Kyra Ba.
Okay, I'll give you I'm giving you the Cliff Notes version of everything that you can read in the book.
Yes.
But when I first discovered Scandinavian music, it was through a couple of fiddlers. One of them is a woman named Elika Frizzell. She's a scholar. She's also a professor at the Royal Academy of Stockholm, which is a music conservatory. And we met at a music camp run by Alistair Fraser, the Scottish fiddler.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And well, actually, we met on tour. The first tour I ever went on, professional tour. And she had a musical partner named Solo Sissoko, who is from southern Senegal. He played the kora, which is the one form of African harp. It's an incredibly beautiful instrument, and usually played by people that are from a generations-long tradition. And he was one for going however how many generations back. And they had this thing going between Swedish fiddle and kora that was just unbelievable. And so I got to tour with them in the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And Elika had just written this waltz for which she did not have a name. And she was playing it with as kind of a mishmash with a piece of music that Solo sang called Kairaba, which means peace farmer.
Uh-huh.
It's a story of a peace farmer who convinces an evil woman to not be evil anymore. And I used to stand between them on stage and just try to glue this music together with the guitar.
Wow.
And so I made a piece of music out of it, and once again tried to transform it onto one instrument, and singing in very bad Mandinka language, which I don't speak.
But you pulled it off. You definitely pulled it off. Now, Bruce, this whole album, I just want to make sure and clarify this. This is all guitar. There's no fiddle on here or banjo. Is that correct?
Well, no fiddle played by me. Daryl Anger plays fiddle on 3 tracks.
Right.
I'm not playing any fiddle. I'm playing all this. It's all guitar.
It's all guitar played.
It's a guitar project, yeah.
Right. All played by you, going back to the love of your first instrument, which is great. It's as you were saying off air, it's kind of a biography.
Yeah, I think of it as a memoir, because each piece relates to some time or place or person, experience, whatever.
Mm-hmm. I also want
to. I've been doing this a long time.
Yeah, you have. You also have some amazing dates, and starting tonight, right? You're doing a course at Cafe Lena.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that was something that kind of originated at the beginning of the pandemic. Cafe Lena is a great performance venue, and they're open for business now, live again. Thankfully, they're up in Saratoga Springs, and they have it's just a beautiful room with great sound and really great people running it. But they had a music school going for young folks, and at the beginning of the pandemic, I kind of got with them, and we talked about trying some things for adults, online courses. Mm-hmm. And I taught a 4-week online course, and I'm going into I think it's the 11th one now.
Wow.
Starting tonight for people that want to learn to play old-time fiddle.
And that's Cafe Lena up in Saratoga, so if anybody is interested.
Springs,
yeah. And
if anybody wants to, if you want more information, go to their website or go to mine. You can get it. We start at 7 p.m. Eastern time tonight, and there's 4 courses.
Yeah, that's perfect.
4 lessons, yeah. It's good. It's been great. And we have a nice little community now of people. We've got a lot of return people, and we get some new people. And, the thing about teaching on Zoom or doing anything on Zoom is it takes a little bit more of an effort to unmute and say what you got to say. Mm-hmm. But this has turned into not only fun music, but a really nice conversation, and I look forward to it every week.
Oh, that's nice. It is something nice to look forward to. You also have some dates out in St. Louis and Chicago, and then you have with someone I interviewed, and I need to have him back, your friend Tony Trischka. Yeah. I heard the smile come on your face as you mentioned his name.
Well, Tony and I have been friends and colleagues for a very long time. He's another musical hero.
Yeah.
He's one of the people that really brought all the beautiful elements of traditional bluegrass banjo into a very modern presentation. He's a brilliant composer and a really great guy to just tour with and hang with.
I bet.
He's got a lot of great stories he tells on the stage, and we yuck around, make fun of each other, and then play some really fun music.
And Friday, April 8th, you'll be in Watchung, New Jersey at the Arts Center there. Tony Trischka and Bruce Molsky. Whew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I can say, well, we're also going to be on the 16th. We're going to be playing for the Westchester Bluegrass folks.
Yes.
And then we're going to Durango, Colorado, then the following weekend.
Oh my gosh, how much fun is that? You guys traveling a little bit.
Yeah, we're getting out there a little bit.
Yeah, and that's good. And I also want to say that you are going to be right here in the Mid-Hudson Valley on June 10th at the Stissing Center in Pine Plains.
Yes, that's a wonderful venue, and it was actually supposed to happen last week when all that snow came down, but we decided to postpone it. The Stissing Center is it's a community building that has been renovated kind of as a multi-purpose space, but mostly for concerts. I played the second concert they ever had there with my trio, the Mountain Drifters, and another venue with really nice sound and run by people who are very, very community minded, and they have all kinds of programs. It's not just please check their website out.
Yeah, it is pretty.
Really nice.
It is pretty impressive. The Stissing Center in Pine Plains, as far as the programming, they also started like a chamber music group now too, or a program, I should say. And
right, but I think they have some programs for young people and things during the day as well. Yeah,
a little theater mix, just a little bit of everything. But again, Stissing Center in Pine Plains, and you, Bruce Molsky, will be there on June 10th. So highly recommend to see you perform live. So I just want to say thank you and congratulations on this beautiful, beautiful CD. Any other plans coming up? I mean, I know you're touring, you're teaching, life has you pretty busy. Anything else?
Well, I managed to stay busy, and being kind of a DIY person who likes to control their own destiny, I do a lot of the work myself. And but I love the process. I've once you've been kind of performing in this bubble of folk and Americana music for so many years, you get to know a lot of the promoters, presenters, and I love those relationships.
Yeah.
And it takes time to do that work, but it gives it an added level of meaning.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm doing a lot of collaborations. Our Mountain Drifters trio has kind of drifted away because of pandemic, but Allison DeGroot, who was the banjo player in that group, she and I have been doing some duet things, and she is a phenomenal modern clawhammer style player, and we're always plotting and planning some things. So if folks want to find out what I'm doing, I'm all over social media, as we all are, Facebook and Instagram. But my website is brucemolsky.com, and if you write to any of the links at those places, it does not come to my management; it comes to me.
I love that. I love that, and Bruce will actually reply to you. brucemolsky.com. What song would you like me to play off your new CD? I did start off with Dear Jill. What would you like me to play?
Well, why don't you play, this is slowing it down to something a little more mournful sounding, but I would love for folks to hear She Begged She More, which is like the first track you played, Dear Jill, has Daryl Anger playing fiddle on it. It's a traditional Irish melody. It means big hill, little hill. And I could say most anything. Anything you want to play from this CD would make me happy.
Oh, well, I'm gonna play a few tracks of this, as I told you, and I'll continue to keep playing this because it really is something that I've continuously listened to for quite some time. And I know people are into streaming, but I can't say enough about the packaging of this, and it really made me go into the music a little deeper because of your explanations on everything, and it all started to make sense. Like I could see why you call this like a memoir, and it's just very well done. Congratulations, really, bravo.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing your music and your light to this planet now that we need it more than ever, Bruce. And I do hope to see you in person sometime. And in the meantime, I'm going to play another track or two this hour. And I really just thank you for your time and everything that you've given the world of music.
No, I thank you, Rita. It's always great to talk to you. And and we'll stay in touch.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bruce. Stay safe and be
All right.
well. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
91.3 WVKR Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie, New York. And let's play the track that we were just talking about with Bruce Molsky right here, right now.
baby, baby, bye-bye. Bye-bye, little girl, bye-bye. If I don't see you no more, God bless you everywhere you go. Bye-bye, baby, baby, bye-bye. All night just looking for you. Walk the street all night in the morning too. I walked the street all night till the moon was shining bright. Honey babe, what'll I do about you? So it's bye bye baby, baby, bye bye. Bye bye little girl, bye bye. If I don't see you no more, God bless you everywhere you go. Bye bye baby, baby, bye bye. Baby, baby, bye-bye. Bye-bye, little girl, bye-bye. If I don't see you no more, God bless you everywhere you go. Bye-bye, baby.